You're listening to the Post-apocalyptic Media Podcast.
Hello and welcome back to this 110th episode of the Post-apocalyptic Media Podcast. I'm your host, Shawn, senior editor here at Post-apocalyptic Media. And we have a very special guest. I'm doing an interview with Emily Field, the author of an upcoming book called IRL, and we'll talk all about that. She was on a previous anthology that I put together called Through the Aftermath, which I've talked about, I know, on this show before. She had a story in there. And so this is her kind of first, well, she calls it her first official novel, like a full-length novel. And so it's very exciting. We talk all about that in the interview, but before I do that, I wanted to talk about the new anthology. This is like a part 2 to Through the Aftermath. And this one is, the reason I'm talking about this here is because it's an official, I'm making air quotes, official post-apocalyptic media anthology. This is a pretty big deal because it's put together from the winners of the short story contest from last year, from 2022. 28 different stories, 28 different authors. It's called Through the Remains. And it just released this week. I made a post about it. If you go to postapocalyptic.com, right there on the front, there will be a nice image of Through the Remains, and you click on that, and it'll take you right to the article I wrote that tells a little bit more about it. It has a couple little sample quotes from the book, and then there's links to be able to go there and check it out. So definitely check that out. It was just a monster to work on because it's so 28 different authors, but totally worth it. I think it came out great. I think the cover came out great. It's a mixture of Photoshop and AI, some Midjourney, things like that. You know how much of a fan of Midjourney I am. But I think everything came out great. It's really, really cool stories. There are some, the stories range from, far future space alien stuff. There's some robot romance if you're into that, which, hey, totally am. And just, kind of your more traditional modern survival stuff in there, and just a whole range in between. Very, very cool stuff. So check that out if you're into anthologies, you're into short stories, and I know you're into post-apocalyptic stuff. I already know it, right? So yeah, check out that article at postapocalyptic.com. Now let's get into this here interview with Emily Field. I have with me today Emily Field, the author of the upcoming book IRL. How you doing, Emily?
Hi. Good. How are you?
I'm great. Yeah, it's good to have you on the show. We've known each other a little while. You had a short story on Through the Aftermath, which is an anthology, post-apocalyptic anthology that I put together last year. And that was a fun story. That was the name of it was Not a Raccoon Stealing Doritos in the Basement, which is one of the most unique titles, I think, in the anthology.
Yeah, I tried to be a little different.
Yeah, it worked. I've had a lot of feedback on certain stories in the anthology. There were 19 of them in there, so people would usually pick out the ones that stood out, and they would usually say, like, I like this one, and that Doritos one. They would say the Doritos one, so I thought that was cool.
Really? That's awesome.
Yeah. So let's talk a little bit about what you have coming out here. You have a new, this is your first novel, right? Your full-length novel?
Technically it's the second. I do have a Little Mermaid romance I wrote like 6 years ago, whenever. But this is like, I think, the biggest debut novel I've had with a publishing company behind me and everything like that. So.
Oh, okay, cool.
Technically, I'm calling it my first, yes.
And you wrote, when you wrote before, you wrote under a different pen name, right?
I did, yes, because it was a romance, so it was Anne Bourne. So, yeah, I did.
And that one was called Blue Moon?
It was, yes.
Okay, cool. Yeah, so now you're kind of going the opposite direction and doing a post-apocalyptic. Yeah, so why don't you tell us a little bit about this book and what it's about?
Basically, I call it if Indiana Jones were a gamer and he meets zombies.
Oh, nice.
So, yeah, it's I don't know how you would have. We were trying to market it. It's a paranormal thriller, so it's kind of like an Indiana Jones type adventure, but it's also dealing with supernatural curse that brings back the undead.
Oh, nice.
So, yeah.
That sounds really interesting. And that story, the short story you had in Through the Aftermath, it ties in somehow to this, right?
Right. One of the secondary characters, Damien, um, he's kind of towards like the three-fourths of the book a little bit, so it just kind of focused on him and kind of what his experience was at the start of the whole apocalypse, since he has nothing to do with the main characters really until the end a little bit.
Oh, okay. Well, that's cool. So anyone who read that story and was interested in that, and I know we even put a blurb at the end of your short story saying that in July 2023, the full novel will be coming out, and so you guys are right on schedule. That's pretty awesome.
Yeah,
It's unusual too.
yeah. Yeah, no, it's exciting. And finally is going to be here next Tuesday.
Wow, that's really cool. The 18th.
Yes.
So tell me about. I'm always curious to know other people's experiences with the whole process. You know what I mean? Like, so what was your process like getting this out there, getting a publisher, and all that?
I think the process, I'm trying to recall actually. I believe it was from a Twitter contest that
Oh,
Tina liked my pitch on Twitter for the contest, and then we just ended up talking, and she wanted, I think it was like, the first 15 pages, and then they liked it, then requested the full, and then they signed me. So it was great.
wow.
It's just proof the Twitter contests, I think, sometimes do actually work. So,
Yeah. That's cool. That's really cool. It's good to
yeah.
know because Tina has been on this show before. Tina works for Post-apocalyptic Media. She's one of
Yeah.
the, I guess, co-owner of Rising Action Publishing, or at
Mhm.
least
Mhm.
and so that's cool. So there's like all this connection here, where through the Twitter contest, now you're on this podcast, and you got
Mhm.
you got in the other anthology, and so it's cool that it all connects like that. Um, yeah, I think that's exciting.
Mhm.
Just
Yeah.
the process and getting it set up, and now here you are, less than a week away from launch. So
Yeah. Yeah. Very exciting.
yeah. So okay, well let's talk about your influences because as we talked about, you have quite a range from the fantasy romance to
Mhm.
now this more post-apocalyptic with zombies and paranormal and everything thrown in there. Now, what are some of the influences that got you to this point?
Um, honestly, I was writing young adult fiction for a while, and just I was hearing more and more, young adult fantasy isn't selling, it's very oversaturated. So I just transitioned. I was like, what if I wrote adult fiction?
Hmm.
And I'm a gamer myself. I love gaming. I love that whole, community. And I thought it'd be kind of cool to think about, I've never met a lot of my gamer friends. What would it be like in real life to meet up with some of them? Or even better, in a survival situation, would we actually all get along or not?
Yeah.
So, yeah, so that led to the book. I mean, I thought it'd be just kind of a fun what if.
Yeah, that is really cool. I think that's one of those things that's becoming more prevalent now. 15 years ago, 20 years ago, people they would play games with their friends and not even know anything about them. Because a lot of, back then it was like early MMOs and stuff like that, EverQuest.
Hmm.
And I have a group of friends. There are 5 of us, and we try to meet up once a year and just kind of hang out and do, we used to go to like Dragon Con and things like that.
Oh, yeah.
And Gen Con and so it's this kind of strikes a chord with me personally, I guess, because it's like,
Hmm.
you have this group of friends that you game with, and then you're like, well, what if we had to survive together? What if let's say we were out together and something happened where we had to survive, the end of the world happened, we had to survive. I mean, that's an interesting concept. So I really like that whole part of
Yeah.
it.
Yeah, it was really fun to imagine.
Yeah. That's really cool. So you said you're a gamer. What are some of your favorite games?
I'm just mostly a PC gamer,
Hmm.
so I like the Witcher games. I have not actually, I'll admit I haven't played all of them all the way through. Mostly I just play Left 4 Dead.
Yeah.
and Left 4 Dead 2 just because, they're easy, they're mindless, they're just fun
Yeah.
to get on. It's not like a lot involved. So just have fun with it.
Yeah, that's such a great part of gaming. There's so many hardcore aspects of it, but just to jump on and kind of kill zombies, I mean,
Right.
it's great.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, like I love Resident Evil too. Like I've watched my husband play it many times, but again, I just don't really be super invested. I just want to jump on with friends, and yeah, we just do a campaign and then we're good.
Yeah,
Yeah.
That works. So what else? What other books would you say you enjoy, especially like modern books right now? What are some?
I really like James Rowlands. He was definitely part of the inspiration for writing, like because he throws in a lot of archaeological references and modern day science, but it's like a thriller. So that was kind of fun for me to try. It was like maybe I could try to write one. But I do read a lot of fantasy, and obviously, I like zombie novels. I like horror, so like kind of a eclectic range of things I read.
That's cool. Yeah. And what about? I mean, are there any like classics that you've really enjoyed?
You mean like old classics? Like,
Yeah, things that
Dracula.
maybe. Yeah, that's a good one.
Yeah, I mean Dracula, Frankenstein. I love Frankenstein. That is definitely an all-time favorite of mine. I mean, I love the Alice in Wonderland. I've always read those.
Yeah.
And then Anne of Green Gables. I was just talking to my other friend the other day. I grew up on Anne of Green Gables as well. So
Yeah.
it's just kind of an odd mix, but
Well, it works.
it
comes
does.
together.
It does. Yeah.
Frankenstein is one of those that you grow up. Of course, there's the whole thing that Frankenstein isn't. That's the name of the doctor, and so
Right.
so there's that whole thing. But you grow up kind of thinking one way about Frankenstein, and then when you're an adult and you read the book, it just hits a lot different. You're just like, wow, this is a really good book.
Yeah, and just how almost like ahead of the time Shelley was. Writing about these things. It is as a kid when you read it, that didn't really click for me. But as an adult, you're just like, wow.
Yeah. Yeah, that's definitely a good one. How about movies? Are you a movie buff?
I do love movies. Yeah. You mean like favorite movies right now, or in general?
Well, I mean, like inspirational movies for you, and then just favorites, I guess.
I mean, Lord of the Rings is always going to be, it's a comfort watch. Whenever you're feeling sick or down, I'm like, yep, Lord of the Rings is my comfort movies. Love those. But again, it's eclectic because I love the action movies too. Like super into the John Wick genre. I think it's awesome. Indiana Jones, obviously. Grew up on that. Grew up on Star Wars movies. So
So all the good ones. Did you see the latest Indiana Jones?
I have not yet. Have you?
No, I haven't. I was kind of, I don't know. I love the early ones, of course.
Yes.
And then it kind of, I don't know. As I grew older, I kind of stopped watching the newer ones, and I haven't seen this new one because I'd like to keep those old ones. Just Raiders of the Lost Ark, Temple of Doom. That's Indiana Jones to me. So
exactly. Yeah. Exactly. Yes, I agree. When they did whatever the alien one was, I forget when that one was. Kind of lost me a little bit.
I didn't even see that one. That's
I wouldn't recommend. I mean, again, if you're a fan, like it's okay to be entertaining, but it wasn't my favorite.
Yeah.
But I've been hearing good things about the new one, so I'll give it a shot.
Yeah. When it comes to like Netflix or something.
Well, exactly. Yeah, I think I'm gonna wait till it streams. I'm not really gonna go to the theater to see it. So.
So I'm looking at your bio here on your website, which is EmilyAField.com. Well, and I'll put a link to that, of course, in the show notes. But so it says that you are a cosplayer. Do you go to Dragon Con and Gen Con and all that?
It's been a recent thing for me, so my goal is to get to conventions. That would be amazing.
Oh, nice.
It's been, I guess, Halloween has been always like my favorite holiday type of thing. So every year you look forward to dressing up, and then I realize there's a whole community of people that do it every day.
Oh, yeah.
So that was a really cool discovery. And I think Book Talk, in addition, like there's a big Book Talk community that does cosplay. so that kind of like pushed me over into exploring cosplay. So yeah.
Yeah, that's really cool. Yeah, I think that if you, I don't know, I hate to sound like the old, oh, you're gonna love it, when you get out there. But Dragon Con is an experience that you will never forget. It's just one of those things, and I mean, I'm like personally excited for you to go and just see all that, because it's the World Series of cosplay.
Yes,
It's
I've
very
heard.
cool. Yeah,
Yeah, I've heard several people recommend it. So
yeah,
on the bucket list for sure.
yeah. Oh yeah, yeah.
Do you cosplay when you go, or you just go as a fan?
Well, I
type of thing?
used to, years and years and years ago, I used to go as a journalist, and then I would
Mhm.
just cover it. And then I started actually looking at, the parade, the Dragon Con parade,
Mm.
and I would be like, that was my bucket list thing. I said, I want to get in there. And I did. I dressed up. I had this group of friends who got together and did G.I. Joe cosplay. And
Oh, yeah.
so I did a whole, I'm the kind of person that when I make a character in a game, I have to make like 5 of them. I have like Alta Hulk,
Yeah.
and so I'm the same with the cosplay. I'd make like 5 different characters, and
Yeah.
but there are people out there who take it way, like they'll have 5 characters in a day. The same day they'll go change, come
That
back.
is amazing.
Yeah,
Yes.
it's
Yes.
it's
And
pretty
they'll like,
hardcore.
make their own costumes. I'm not
Oh
to
yeah,
that level yet quite. I'm not really, a seamstress. I don't really sew.
yeah.
But yeah, yeah, I love seeing everyone's costumes. It's so cool.
I think the order of events is you go to Dragon Con, you see all the stuff, and then you become a seamstress because you're like, I want to make my own stuff now.
Right, exactly, exactly. It's very inspiring
Yeah,
to see everyone and what they put together.
yeah, exactly. Well, that's cool. Yeah, I like. It's been a long time for me though. It's probably
Mm.
been 7-8 years since I've done any of that, but it's very cool stuff. I don't know. I highly recommend going.
Yeah, you should go again. We should all go together so we can all
Yeah,
meet up.
yeah. Oh, that would be great. Yeah, it's
That
it's a
would be
lot of
very
fun
cool.
though. What's funny is one of the main reasons I stopped going is because I have I had small children. Now they're 10 and
Mm.
11,
Hmm.
but they're to that point where we could take them. You know what I mean? Where they could
Yeah,
do the thing,
yeah.
and that's going to be a whole thing one day.
I think that's the thing too. Yeah, I do have small children as well, and so that's part of, the issue with travel and trying to get
Yeah,
away, is that it is harder with small
yeah.
children.
But
But
once
you're
they
at
grow
those
up, they can
ages.
join you. Yeah,
Yeah, exactly. That would be really, really
yeah.
fun.
Okay, cool. Yeah. So let's see. What else do I see here? Oh, artist. Now,
Yes.
I'm excited about that personally. I guess it kind of makes sense. Writing and
Hmm.
artistry. It's kind of the same side of the brain.
Mm.
I'm an artist myself too, and I that's why I always find it fascinating when people are
Oh,
writers and artists,
okay.
because
Yeah.
it's like you're using that entire side of your brain right there, and it's great.
Yeah.
So,
Yeah. What kind of art do you do, though? I didn't know you're an artist.
oh well, I mean, I like gouache and acrylic probably the most.
Okay,
Um,
cool, cool. I'm not familiar with gouache.
yeah, it's kind of a mix between watercolor and acrylic. It's kind of in between those, where you can do like
Oh,
watercolor effects, but it
okay.
has the opacity of acrylic just about. It's really cool.
Oh,
Um,
that's interesting. I'm gonna have to look into that.
yeah, it's and it's pretty cheap too. You can get little like on
Yeah,
Amazon or something. But well, I mean, so I saw your favorite is acrylic. Is that right?
it is. Yeah. I think just because I'm impatient and watercolor,
Yeah.
you have to wait for it to dry. You have to. So I
Yeah.
just get impatient.
The same with oil painting.
Yes.
Yeah, it
Yeah,
takes
that is
forever.
way too long of a wait time for me. I mean, I like that medium. I just don't have much experience with it either.
Yeah.
So acrylic is just my thing or at least it was. Honestly, I haven't painted in years because again, with children
Yeah, yeah.
and life, it's been busy. So
Yeah, that's the thing. It's
Hmm.
it's it's always one of those, and especially with like writing,
Yes.
you
Yes.
you you sit down, but you have another person talking to you. You're like,
Right.
you're
Right.
like, okay, because to write you have to get into that world. You have to sit down and get
Yes.
yourself completely in your character, and
Hmm.
and when someone's like, hey, do you want to see this thing I made. You can't be like, go away. You have to be like, oh, sure, yeah.
Right. And then you lose your train of thought completely, and you're like, what?
Yeah. So it's definitely a different ball game when you have kids.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's cool. So like it has here on your header image, it says author, gamer, cosplay, artist. That's like all the cool things. That's all.
I hope
everything.
so. Yeah, I hope one day to, get back into the art.
Yeah.
Because my side goal was to be able to sell paintings or something. But
Oh yeah.
I mean, also I don't, have a studio at the house or anything, so it is hard
Yeah.
to, set up all of your paints and then take it down. And then, the kids
Yeah.
are so little that they would definitely mess with it. And then you have acrylic paint all over your house. And that's not what you want.
Yeah. But
Someday.
Yeah, someday get back into it. And maybe I took a long time off, and I don't want to say it was like riding a bike, but it was close, where you're like, oh, I remember this, and
Yeah, exactly. There's just, there's phases in life, there's times in life. So
yeah.
I think right now it's the writing phase, right? It's easy to get on your laptop. At least you don't have to set that up or anything.
Yeah. There's no big mess to be made with a laptop, and yeah.
Right.
Well, cool. So we have the book on July 18th coming out. IRL is what it's called. And I think that your description is great. It definitely, I mean, it speaks to me. I think that, we've kind of established that it's more, it's for a game, like a gamer mindset, I guess. And what would they do in that situation if, they get together and they survive. Very, very cool idea. I'm excited for it. And so tell me about the different medium it's going to be. It's going to be paperback and Kindle, or?
Yes, paperback. I'm definitely sure it's going to be Kindle. There will be an audiobook. I've heard releasing 2 weeks after the 18th.
Oh, nice.
So there will be an audiobook, yay. And actually, we just found out there will be hardcovers available at some point as well. So
very cool.
Very excited for, I don't know. I just think it's fun to have a hardcover.
Yeah.
So yeah, I think it's going to be available, everywhere, wherever books are sold.
Very cool.
Amazon, Barnes and Noble, Apple, I'm assuming. I don't know.
Yeah.
Definitely Audible. So I think it's going to be an Audible exclusive or something like that.
Oh, okay. Very cool. Is it going to be on Kindle Unlimited also?
I'm not sure, honestly, but I could check on that.
That's very cool. I think with hardcovers too, when you do like a book signing, like an in-store book signing, people love hardcovers.
Right. That's what I was thinking too. It's like, it's almost, I don't know what to say, it's like a rite of passage for authors, but I don't know. We're all just really excited for hardcovers.
Yeah. Oh, yeah.
Definitely.
Yeah. Very cool. All right. Well, I'll put links to all that in the show notes for today, and people can check that out and hopefully buy your book, because that will be on the 18th. So this will come out a little bit before that, probably, 3 or 4 days before. So
sure.
So people can get all excited. And
yeah. Any shout outs, and having my first event at a Barnes and Noble on the 29th. So
oh, nice.
I'm, nervous, but it should be interesting, should be exciting.
Well, do you want to plug that in case people want to go and
Yeah, sure. If they're in the Naperville, Illinois area, it's the Naperville Barnes and Noble, Saturday the 29th from 4 to 6. I'll try to be doing some live streaming. I obviously, with Rising Action, with my publisher, I'll be posting a bunch of stories, reels, things on there. I'll try to go live on Instagram or something. They were asking, and I was like, yeah. And then I'm also doing an Instagram takeover on Monday, this coming Monday, the 17th. If anyone has any questions, they're feel free to pop on Rising Action's Instagram and ask away.
Very cool.
So yeah,
that's cool. Yeah, I'll put a link to the website, and it has all of your other contact information, social media, all that kind of stuff. So
yeah,
very cool. Well, Emily, thank you for coming on the show. This was a lot of fun. I always like talking about post-apocalyptic games and movies and books and all that. So yeah, it was a lot of fun. Good luck with the launch of the book and the signing and all that. That's very, very exciting stuff.
Yes, thank you so much for having me.
Yeah, definitely. You'll have to come on again. And when you're rich and famous, you'll have to remember the little guy.
Oh, well, thank you so much.
All right. Well, thanks again for coming on. And again, best of luck.
Thank you so much. Have a great week.